Hello and welcome to Tokyo Inklings. My name is CY. You can find me on my website at tokyostationpens.com, on Instagram and TikTok at tokyostationpens, and on Twitter at tokyostationmnh.
And my name is Jacob, and I'm foodafan on Instagram and on Twitter, and have a blog at foodafan.com.
Hello, my name is Khuê, and you can find me on Instagram at MiraiCat.
Hi, this is Alesa, and I'm Inky Rocks on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right, and this is, believe it or not, this is Tokyo Inklings episode 50. 50 episodes of regular episodes. Obviously, we've done some, I think, 3 emergency episodes. But this is the official 5-0, Jacob. That's incredible.
Congratulations.
It is.
Thanks to you as well.
Well, congratulations.
I also wonder if we are the only stationary podcast that has even a concept of emergency
I'm pretty
episodes.
sure you guys invented it.
Yeah, well, some news can't wait, so that's why we have them. But today we have, obviously, a special group with us together. We have the 4 kind of, I guess, co-hosts that regularly come onto the podcast. And we thought there has been some news going on the past 2 weeks, but we thought we'd also take this time to do a little bit of a Q&A, also kind of just to relax, sit back, and really talk about, some of the things that you, the listener, wanted to know about us. So I think without further ado, let's get into the main topics, and then we'll go into the Q&A. What do you think, Jacob?
Yeah, let's do it. I think we have a very aggressive plan here, so let's see how far we get.
Yeah. All right. So the first topic that I want to talk about is actually Hanabi Glass Studio. Now, I first heard of Hanabi Glass Studio from you, Alesa, when we were talking about the glass pens. I think we were in person, and you mentioned that there was this person, and you'd seen them on Shumi the Bungubox, and actually,
Correct.
He's from the U.S. And yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but you actually went down to his studio, right?
Yeah, and I have a video in the making, but it's still in the making.
Yeah, so I actually went down to his studio as well on, I think 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I went to his studio and I had a little chat with him, and I just want to talk a little bit about the visit itself, because he lives, I wouldn't say it's like too far away, but it's not close, right? It's like about an hour away from central Tokyo. And I think what was very interesting, and Jacob, you've mentioned this, I'm not sure if you've talked about this on the podcast or not, but most of the glass pen makers here tend to be very secretive about how they make the pens, right?
Especially the nib.
Yeah, especially the nib part. Now, Alesa, I don't know if he showed you or not, but when I went down there, what I found was, obviously, he's from the States, he speaks English, we had a great conversation, but he was very open in showing almost all of the process in how he makes
Absolutely. He was
pen.
very open about it and very friendly about it, and I think he both benefits and helps the community of glass pen makers. Yeah.
And I asked him a bunch of different questions, and I would like to have an interview with him, so I don't want to talk for him, but I asked him, hey, if somebody comes to Japan and they want to see, they want to see the process, do you welcome visitors? And he seemed very willing to have people go down and visit him. Really friendly guy.
Yeah, he really is, and he's also very steeped in the tradition of glass making and has studied under some interesting people and has very deep knowledge of glass pen making. It's not just, he saw an opportunity to make money or whatever. He's definitely into the whole glass art thing, and glass pens is a part of that.
Yeah, and he told me that he actually started the pen part of his business around 3 years ago when he had an opportunity to try a fountain pen from his uncle or something. And now he says like 90% of his work is in pens. He used to make like a lot of pendants. Yeah, he says most of his work is in pens now. And obviously he has all the troubles of like shipping abroad, just Yeah, it's just a disaster. But yeah, he says that he works on a lot of pens now. Something that I found particularly interesting is not only does he operate under his own brand, he also makes a lot of glass pens for other glass studios.
He provides under their name too.
Yeah, so I asked him if it was okay to say this, and he said, it's a known secret that I work for Goody Kobo, but he actually makes most of the glass pens for Goody Kobo. I think he makes the nibs, and then he either has them already made, or he sends the parts out, and then they have their apprentices.
Yeah, I think when I went out I interview him, he just got through making like 100 pens for them. It was insane.
Yeah, and his studio is it's like a little room right outside of where he lives, and he was like, so I had to go out and I had to like build all of these ventilation things, and and he told me that in the summer it's impossible to work in Japan because it's outside, so it's like very, very hot. So he says he's trying to save up to build kind of like an underground, like build a new house and have a studio underground so he can work like during normal hours instead of like midnight.
Oh my God! Did you actually go into the studio and watch him make something?
I did.
Yeah, because it's like he had these fans, and then he had these pumps going, and it's like I've got it all in the video, and like he's wearing these crazy glasses, and there's fire going on. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he had all these like different crazy color rods. And, he showed me the technique where he kind of pulls the glass so that it really looks like the fireworks.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. And I asked him, I said, hey, like, do you take custom orders? If I had a design in mind, could I go to you and have you make something totally custom for me? He's like, yeah, I can probably do that. So definitely I'd say reach out to him because he's a really friendly guy. And something I want to talk about actually is his precision with the nibs, because I think with a lot of glass pens, and Jacob, you've talked about this as well. I think Khuê, you have some experience as well. A lot of glass pens, I think why they haven't caught on until very recently is that the nibs were always kind of like scratchy, not pleasant to use, right?
Well, I heard from someone that because glass pens are now becoming so popular, most of these like glass makers that make stuff for department stores or whatnot, they all have started making glass pens, glass nibs, but they are just trying to figure out how to make the nibs. Most of them create pretty bad nibs at first, and it takes them a while to improve the process. Yeah.
And when I went down there, Lucas told me that there are several ways of making the nib, and what a common way of doing that is they have like this mold. They heat up the glass and they just stick the glass in the mold, and then they pull it out. It's in the shape of a nib, right? And I think that's what those like cheaper versions of the glass pens are, but those are usually pretty scratchy. And when he was making it, he had this tube of glass, and then he would have a smaller kind of, I guess, glass rod, and he would draw on each of the grooves. So those grooves that you see on the more expensive glass pens, those are actually like, hand drawn or hand applied onto the base rod. And, it does take a lot of time. And something that I was really impressed is how precise he was with the nibs. I think that was very impressive.
Well, one of the things that I felt like, one of the reasons why I picked him as opposed to anybody else is that for people that are mainly like your audience and you guys' audience and mine are mostly English speakers. And, he's American, so you can communicate with him very easily. And that was one of the main reasons I wanted to interview him. But the other also is that he's kind of pushes the boundary a little bit more. And he's the one that consistently makes italic nibs. And they're like very usable italic nibs. I think Jacob really likes his that he got from Hanabi. But that's really... He's kind of a little more cutting edge and a little more, I think, into the actual pen scene.
Yeah, I remember how I got that one. So, Alesa, you and I went to Okamoto last year, and we looked at various glass nibs there, and we saw there was one that was a stub, and we both decided we wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
We were fighting over it, yeah. And I didn't really pay attention to the brand, so it wasn't until after I got it, I went back to and looked at Shumin the Bungubox and tried to figure out what I've actually bought, that I realized that this was a Hanabi pen.
Yeah.
You know, as one does.
Yeah.
Who cares about the brand? Yeah, but yeah, definitely recommend talking to him. And yeah, just I think for me personally, I feel like he's really gotten the nibs down. I feel like there can be more adventurous designs on the pen body. Like you can tell he's like a really expert glass blower, but I think in terms of the body shapes, what we see from from let's say like a Hase, right? It's clearly very aimed at that like specific Inknuma audience. And I think in comparison, what Lucas does is not it's technically you're just as skilled, but I think like the shape and the outside design, right? The because essentially what you get is a rod, and then inside there are like various different colors, and those are all like really beautiful, but then the outside shape is essentially a rod, right? I think there's some exploration that could be done with like shape of the actual pen itself, and I think that's where somebody with a good idea could come and say, hey Lucas, I've got an idea in my head, it's a crazy idea, do you think you'd be able to do it? And I think, you know, that will really take that to the next level. But I have now both his italic and Tus's italic, and I think his italic is much sharper, much more like an italic nib. Tus is more like a stub
and I think
nib.
also nothing against Tus. I mean, I play with it a lot, but I think his is a little more. The Hanabi Glass Studio one's a little more useful for actually like writing, or if you wanted to actually do italic writing or something like that, because it's a little more, you know, it's not giant and it's not real thick where you have to like dip the pen several times. So yeah, it's probably a little more useful. Yeah,
you can actually tell him what size you want it to be, and he can get it down to like, he said he can get it down to like 0.1 millimeter accuracy. Yeah, so
are
it's
you
really,
putting out
really
like a separate like interview of him or something later on the podcast?
So my hope is that we can find some time to call him and maybe have him talk about
that would be
his
interesting.
experience.
Yeah,
as well.
It would be.
I think that would be cool. Yeah.
And if Sailor doesn't make anything special for Sailor Moon anniversary this year, maybe there is some collaboration we can make with Lucas and having a Sailor Moon van, like magic van in glass pen would be it would be very nice.
It would be cool.
I mean, he does some crazy stuff with colors, so you know, if you've got an idea, you should talk to him. All right. Next topic on the list, we have this pen that we don't actually really talk about too often. It's the Pilot Grance.
I saw this announcement about 2 days ago that Pilot have released a new model. But before we talk about that specific model, so let's talk about this Ilmili brand. So we have talked about this Ilmili brand on a few occasions now. I think Pilot launched that like a year ago or so, and under this Ilmili brand, they have launched like ballpoint, rollerballs, mechanical pencils, notebooks, and various like cute stationery. It's all like pastel colored, like pink, purplish, very stylish. It's very obvious what kind of target audience they have in mind, and they seem to be promoting it heavily. You have them at the big stationery stores. They have this big display of Ilmili stationery. And we have said this. I have said on a few occasions now that I wish that Pilot would launch like an Ilmili fountain pen, at least a fountain pen with that Ilmili aesthetic. And that's kind of sort of what they have done just now. So 2 days ago, they launched 2 new models in this Grance series. And I think maybe this pen is not available outside Japan, or maybe it's called something else outside Japan. But Grance is this like slender gold-nibbed fountain pen that's been around since like the 90s or so. But there's been a bit of a Grance boom in Japan, I would say, over the last year or so. Suddenly, I think like maybe 1 year ago or so, all of these like Inkunumas suddenly got the Grancy pens. You saw them all over Instagram, and I think it's still going on. I think this is still a popular pen. So if you want to make like a fountain pen with that ilmily aesthetic, I think Grancy is one of the best models to base it on, and that's kind of what I did here. So the new Grancy that they announced 2 days ago has this pastel-colored marbled, I don't know if it's acrylics or resins or whatever it is, but it's not, doesn't have the ilmily brand, but it looks exactly like this ilmily pens, and it fits in that aesthetic perfectly. So I think this shows that Pilot does actually pay attention, and they do release pens in the colors that people want, but I think this may be very Japan specific. Do we even know if Grancy exists outside Japan?
Grancy, I think, is a relatively lesser known line, because I think for a lot of other countries, starting Pilot fountain pen is the 74, right?
Yeah.
What's interesting about the Grancy is that it's a number 3 nib, so it's actually smaller than the 74. And I'm looking online now, and I do see that, you know, people like Brad Dowdy have reviewed this pen. Well Appointed Desk has reviewed the pen. They have it on Cult Pens. So I think it does exist outside of Japan as well, but I don't think it's a very popular one.
Yeah, it might not be popular outside Japan. I think maybe for a while it wasn't popular here either. But again, there's been a bit of a Grancy boom, at least among these Inkunuma influencers over the last year or so. So I think it's very interesting that Pilot chose that model. Choose to pimp that model with some pastel colored marbled acrylics.
I have a Grants, and I'll tell you exactly why I got it. When I got it very early in my pen collecting, like maybe 8 years ago or so, 10 years ago, and at that time it was less than $100. Now it's about $200, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at that time, I mean, you could get a gold nib for under $100. And for many women, it's slender and small. I think a lot of women prefer that, like the Ferris wheel press paintbrush fountain pen is very slender and small. And so I think they picked the perfect one to appeal to the Inkunuma ladies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And interestingly, the Grancy was very popular with specifically Pilot collectors. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, you'd have because I think they had different versions. So I know that Leo Fock of Inquisitive Quill, who's been on this podcast before, he has a collection of Grancy pens as well. You see them on his Instagram feed as well. So it's, I guess, it being lesser well known is like an appeal, right? I'm reading the Pen Addict blog right now, and as of August 22, 2018, the Grancy was $140. And that puts it in the same price point as the Custom 74. Had more probably color variations, but I think one of the reasons maybe why it didn't appeal so much outside of Japan is that, you know, for that price you could get a size 5 nib. But now we have the Grancy in, as you say, Jacob, 4 different colors, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do we want to talk about the price, because it's kind of expensive?
Now it's 22,000 yen with tax.
Yeah, it's. Do we know the price for the regular model?
Yeah, it's 12,000, I believe, with a gold nib, and then 8,000 with steel nib.
Right, and then the ballpoint pen is 7,700 for the regular ballpoints. Now, for these marbled ones, the ballpoint pen is 11,000, and the fountain pen version is 22,000. So I think actually the 11,000, that's not that much of a markup from the ballpoint. But the gold nibs, they really jumped up.
Almost double, almost.
And this is available in fine and medium.
the more basic models are available, I think, in 2 more, like EF or FM or something like that. So, but all of this seems consistent with what I also did with this SE models, right? So you're paying more and you get fewer nib options with the fancy acrylics.
Yeah. So I guess let's turn to the target audience, the ladies on the call. What do you think of this pen? Would you buy this pen?
No.
I mean, it doesn't have shimmer in it, so.
Yeah, and not only the shimmer, but I think it's a little bit too classical for me. I will see more like someone, I don't know, it's maybe a cliche, but someone who loves cats and drink lots of tea. I drink a lot of tea. I drink a lot. I don't like cat, but I drink a lot of. I don't know. I see it more like a retired teacher or piano lesson professor. You know, it seems really classical for me. I don't know.
I think they made a mistake with the price, because I think it is aimed at the Inkanuma ladies, and when you first start with the fountain pen, you're not going to want to spend a lot of money. And I know for many people, $200 isn't very much money, but if you're going, from $100 glass pen and you're going to go up to $200 for a fountain pen, it's a pretty big jump. And they should have kept it below $200, I think, maybe $150 or something if they were going to raise the price for the different colors. But definitely the shape and the coloring, like you're saying, it's got that pastel kind of watercolor look to it, and I can see that being very appealing to women who like the watercolor kind of look of many of the, chroma shaders and stuff. So it almost looks like there's some chroma shading ink on it, So the design was very smart, and I think that the fact that it's a small nib and it's slender doesn't really hurt them that much, because many women do want to have that. But the advantage of it before was that because it was a smaller nib and it was a smaller pen, it was cheaper. And now you've kind of lost that edge there. So it may struggle.
Yeah, if it's the same price as a 74, I will take a 74.
Yeah, exactly. Even though 74 is boring.
I will add the customization if I wanted to have it differently.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not a limited edition, right? It's like a second line, right? The price is almost double the standard line, and it means something for me, but it's really like a personal point of view.
Yeah, it's actually even more expensive than a 74, even for the custom kite colors, which, they're solid colors, but still, they're really nice ones, right?
Yeah.
I think this goes back to Alesa's point during this year-end episode that Sailor, for some reason, they get away with whatever, any pricing, but whenever Pilot bumps the price, then it's like pitchforks.
Absolutely.
Well, I think the Sailor one. See, this is interesting, right? The Sailor price increases have risen across the board, whereas I feel like if I have to choose between a Grande and a 74, right? 74 has risen in price, but not to like this degree, right? So it's not like double the price. So I think that's where the comparison is. But I think also the body. I know the kind of bind is acrylic, but the body I think it's actually brass.
Yeah, it is.
So this is not a particularly light pen either.
Well,
right?
the brush pen from Ferris Wheel Press is also brass. It's pretty heavy, but it's just slender.
I think one interesting thing that Khuê, you brought up about who's going to be using this pen, I almost see this as a competition for the capless, because this is a snap cap pen. So what I would imagine is like maybe the office lady or a teacher who wants to just uncap it for a quick note, but also wants to have a little bit nicer of a writing instrument. They're not sitting down for like long writing sessions, but they just want to take quick notes, but still have something really nice to write with.
Yeah, I guess there is something really spring. Like I think the release date is not completely a coincidence. Like Valentine's Day will come, and white day will come after that, and the color remind of spring and flowers. So I guess there's something. Right. The market is quite aiming to feminine or more feminine market than everyone or masculine people who like pastel color or watercolors.
All right. So that was the Grande. Do we want to move to Bungubox?
Yeah.
Now, you and I, we met up for lunch on Sunday.
Yes, exactly.
And it was right before I went to Bungubox.
To normally pick up the pen.
I did a live. Yeah. And so we had a discussion on Sunday while we were having lunch. And I said, oh, well, did you see the new pen? You're like, yes. And the packaging is adorable.
Yeah, the packaging, right? The finial was really interesting.
Yeah. And then I said, but I'm the type of person, the package goes into the rubbish bin the first 5 seconds.
Yeah, I remember you said that. And I can add that she has to see the pen in real to know if the value of the pen is more than only the cherry on the top of the packaging. And
then you said, what did you say? I mean, I know what you said, but I want you to say it.
It's a really cute pen, but orange is not my color.
Yeah, and you said you're not going to buy it.
I said that I think I won't buy it. But...
Okay. Yeah, so do you have one?
I want. Haven't you seen my last post?
So what do you think about it?
It's a really, really nice pen. And I think I will add orange in my list of colors. No, but to tell the whole story. So you can hear by my voice that I'm sick for I don't know how many weeks. I have a lot of cold, and it became, when we met, I told you that I just broke my rib by coughing last weekend, and it gets so painful that I have to go and see a doctor, and we cannot do anything about it. It's just wait that it will get in better, but they give me a lot of painkillers and antibiotics, so I'm under medicine for 1 week at least. And the fact that this pen arrived and is so bright and remind of orange and vitamins give me a little bit of sunlight in my
energy.
Cold days. Yeah, so it's a very it's a beautiful mini sailor. The orange is not like the ink is brighter than the pen, and the finial and the nib engrave is really cute. So I'm completely in love with it, and I took with the zoom nib, and I'm doing all my calligraphy session with it, and it's really very exciting. I'm really happy that I changed my mind so easily.
Yeah, so as I was going, you're like, no, I'm not gonna buy this pen. And I saw you come to my IG live, and then afterwards you texted me. You said, I bought the pen.
And I had a discussion with Julie in my pen pal in New Zealand, and she was getting in. She was like, will you get in? And I was like, no, orange. I don't have any orange pen. It's definitely not my color. And then I go back to their website, to the Bungubox website, because first they didn't put the picture. They had only the sketch of the pen. So as much I bought the Supernova without knowing how it looked like, but I knew it would be a lot of sparkling, so I didn't hesitate 1 second. This one, I really need to see the pen in picture before I decide myself. And when they add the series of picture and I saw the finial and the nib, I was like, okay, it's not only the packaging. And luckily for me, there was some money on my PayPal, and Bungubox accept PayPal. So I didn't feel like I put too much money in it, It's like money who was staying on a PayPal account.
Yeah. And it was funny because your husband, we live relatively close to each other, so, we know your family. And then your husband said to me, she doesn't have to give you money this time. And then in the end...
Yeah, he said, if we didn't met with them today, you will never be on Bungubox website. Because I think I ordered it at 1 a.m. The same day, on Sunday night, like in the middle of the night, before going to bed.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So no more lunch together for a while, CY and Akane. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what they did here is actually really interesting. This is their 10th year anniversary. They've actually collaborated with a brand of mikan producers. So mikan, I think, is called mandarins in
yes.
English.
Tangerine or mandarin, yeah.
Yeah, tangerines, mandarin. And it's quite interesting because, and I think this pen will be very, very popular with Chinese people because, it's the Chinese New Year on Tuesday. But they selected this pen. They actually collaborated with the producer, and the packaging is actually the same cardboard packaging as what you would get the mandarins in from the farmers.
And it's very funny because from the day I got this packaging, I saw the original packaging everywhere, and I never pay attention to it. But no, when I went to the supermarket, when I crossed some small shop, I live like my area has a lot of this small ceramics and kitchen accessory stuff. They used the original box to put other stuff in that. And I saw this logo everywhere, usually in blue. But yeah, so it's very... I never pay attention to it like it's a normal... it's a logo of farmer fruits and vegetables stuff. But from that moment, it's everywhere. It's very famous.
Yeah. They are actually not only releasing this in the Fat Mini though, right? They actually, and I don't think this has been announced to the non-Western audience yet, but in the email newsletter, they announced the pen in English, and then on the bottom, in Japanese, they said, and we're also going to release a King of Pen called Mikancha. It's not finished yet, but they're going to make 30 of this Mikancha in the same shape as those Kaihas and Koens in the ebonite that they release every year, right? Mm-hmm. On top of that, they're going to have rod and finial. They're going to have makie numbered, out of 30, and the whole pen will be urushi'd.
Wow!
Wonder where that's going to run.
Well, she told me what the price is going to be. So I said I'll take one, and I asked for number 30, and then I told her, your price is too low, right? And she was very surprised. I showed her the pricing for, just the regular ebonite King of Pens and even Kaiha. For an urushi pen, the pen was I think underpriced. And she says, "Oh, now I have to go review my pricing, but I've already sold a few. What do I do?" But yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. It's also going to be a King of Pen with its own custom stamp.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what Kaoru-san told me is that they didn't write 10th anniversary on the stamping because they want to reuse the stamp. So this suggests to me that we're going to see more Bungubox King of Pens.
Oh, that's great.
So what was the price?
I'm not going to say.
Is it secret?
Offline, you can say it.
Well,
cut that part out.
She hasn't announced it yet, so I'll say it once she announces.
Okay. Well, there's probably a lot of people in the States that aren't very happy that you told her to raise her prices.
Well, one of the things that I told her about also is I complained that Sailor has been too aggressive in raising their prices. And she told me, yeah, I agree. And she told me that she went to the president of Sailor. She complained about the raising prices.
And what they say?
Price of gold, blah, blah, blah,
still
blah,
the same.
blah, blah.
But they didn't cut Bungubox out of their partnership, right?
Yeah.
I hope. Because to tell the truth, I checked my collection and all my last limited edition are from Bungubox. They are so, so good with their stories behind the pen and all the...
Yeah. Perfect for that.
They are really, really good. So I'm just don't stop collaborate together, please.
Yeah. She knows how to read. She knows how to read the buyers really well and give them what they want.
Yeah.
I think that's especially true with the Western audience. And that's always something that's struck me. Like when you see Bungubox releasing new pen, you will see them all over Instagram after a while, but it's almost exclusively like US, European customers. And sort of related to that, I always thought of Bungubox social media presence has always been very like gotcha. They have never really had good photos, always been very unstructured compared to like their competitors like
Kakimori,
Lichtop and Kakimori and Pentonote and Hachimoni. It's all very stylish, all very professional, and it's very appealing to, I mean, going back to this, this Inkunuma audience. I don't think they find Bungubox's social media presence particularly appealing. I think they might be hurting Bungubox.
But in the same time, they are one of the rare one who has a international shop online.
Yeah.
Kakimori has two, but they don't have their own fountain pen. But all the other brand, Pentonote, Tag, they start last year, but the other one, you cannot access to the pen if you don't know someone or you don't go by a buying service. So maybe it's why we saw them and they are really fast with shipping. So I saw some people in the UK, US already got their. I got mine like 36 hours after ordering, or less than 36 hours. And I saw some people got them yesterday or Thursday and outside Japan. So it's quite crazy. I don't know which service they're using.
Yeah, they're using DHL, and it's extremely fast. They Toasty Treat, our friend on Instagram, she got hers I think on Tuesday.
The same day as I got.
They shipped out on Monday.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean I agree with you, Jacob. I think they lack a social media strategy, but I think the products kind of make up for it. So if they just hone in on that social media strategy, they're going to be incredible. I mean, not that they're not already incredible, right? But I think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have good products. I mean, most of their pens, limited editions, I mean, they are, some are beautiful, some are like whimsical, but you might not realize that looking at their social media.
But do they need it in the same time?
Well, it depends on which audience you're going for again. I mean, they seem to have a lot of success with their Western customers, and maybe that's all they need. But my gut feeling is that they would have more success in Japan with something a bit more, let's say, Kakimori-like.
Although I think pen fans of Bungubox pens can rejoice because in a joking way, I said, I want a Magic of Alice Rialo. And she said to me, she said, well, you know how we've been re-releasing pens in all different kinds of like shapes and sizes? So they did like 3 versions of Seiya, right? So Silent Night, they did like 3 or 4 versions. I think 4 versions. The most recent is a Pro Gear. The last one was Rialo. And so she says, maybe we're gonna do, that pen in a different shape as well. So if you like the Magic of Alice, please go and on Twitter tag them and say you want a Rialo. Please, please, please. I really want it to happen.
I want their Canberge again. I missed the Canberge one.
Last topic, the main topic, I guess it's a quick one. We were speaking with somebody who works in the industry a few weeks ago, and they remarked to me, they said, yeah, every time we get these sample pens, all of the manufacturers, they're okay with us using any ink except Iroshizuku, because Iroshizuku is very hard to clean. And I've not personally, I think all ink are hard to clean, to be honest. But that got me thinking, I wonder what kinds of inks we use, because if the manufacturer's saying, Iroshizuku is banned, right? I personally use Konpeki. But now I'm using a lot of Diamine China Blue. I'm wondering if you have different inks that you use to, let's say, test paper. I know, Jacob, you test a lot of paper. Khuê, you test a lot of paper as well. For the consistency, are there some go-to inks that you guys use?
So for me, if I buy a second-hand pen from Yahoo Auctions or Mercari, the first ink I use is Sailor Doyo. So not only is it ridiculously easy to clean, and not only is it probably Sailor's wettest ink, but it's self-cleaning. It removes stains. It's like a magical ink, right?
yeah, we've heard that, right? I have a bottle. I don't really use it, but yeah, it does remove stains, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, if you have a pen that doesn't work well with Doyo, then you have a problem with your pen. So that's probably the ink I would use. But yeah, you mentioned also these kakimori inks, and that's for a whole different purpose. So we talked before about how kakimori inks tend to be like feather prone, that they also tend to bleed through. They're very nice to write with if you're good paper, but on a lot of paper it feathers and bleeds. So there's one in particular that I bought at Ginza, Tsutaya and Ginza, I believe, called Akitsuta, which is this intense red ink. And it's beautiful ink if you use a good paper, but it feathers on pretty much anything that isn't, Old Tomo River, Sansen Tomo River, Graphilo, or Midori MD. So I'm using that as my paper testing ink. I don't fault a paper if it causes bleed through with this ink, but if it doesn't, if it handles this ink well, then I know that this is going to be fantastic paper.
Yeah, and if it feathers, you just laugh at it, right?
Yeah.
What about you, Khuê? You do a lot of ink testing.
Yeah, so one of the kill all the paper ink that I use is Emerald or Shiver of G.R. Bryn. So I can see if the sheen can appear, if the ink will go through. And I use it with a flex nib usually to really put a lot of ink on the paper and to see if the paper will resist and not ghost on the other side. And Sailor Studio 123, I like to use it too to see if the shading appear or it got absorbed by the paper when it's not the usual Tomori River or Graphilo. When I test random paper, it's the two ink I will use to see the reaction on the papers. And I can add the Sailor bronze, the Maruzen medals. Dokan. Yeah, exactly. I often use these three to see if a random paper has some potential or it's just going directly to the paper bin.
That's so interesting because I feel like, Jacob, you mentioned your first ink is Doyo, right? Which is you just want to see if the pen works. Yeah. Whereas, Khuê, your first ink is just all of the bad stuff, like the shimmer, the sheen, super wet, and you want to see if the paper can handle all of you. Yeah, that's really funny.
I guess I guess the difference is Jacobs is testing a lot of nib and pen, and I of course I add more pen in my collection every time and so, but I stay in the same family of pen, and it could be that I got a bad Sailor nib, or it could happen, but it's quite. Until now, I didn't get this kind of problem, so I'm more testing the papers than the pen itself.
And you, Alesa, what do you?
Well, I'd like to challenge that. Who did you hear that from?
About Iroshizuku.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say on the podcast because...
But it wasn't Pilot, was it?
No.
So already your information is tainted because it's a competitor. Because I've actually looked into Iroshizuku a lot because I've actually had Tsukiyo burn out a diaphragm on a Edison Menlo. Mm-hmm. And they're very alkaline inks.
Yeah.
And they're not hard to clean. They're just alkaline. And so I find that information to be a little bit tainted. I think Iroshizuku can be avoided for using maybe sack pens or some vintage pens, but I don't really see it as being something that's stained. Yeah, I would use Tsukiyo or maybe Waterman's Serenity Blue or something like that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't take that person's opinion as fact in any way, shape, or form because it's not backed up by experience. He didn't say it was because of this. He just said it was hard to clean. He didn't say, well, I stuck it in this and this is what happened. But I do know that I stuck Tsukiyo in a Edison Menlo and it burned out the diaphragm.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that it is a very alkaline ink, and if you look it up, it is a very alkaline ink.
But I wonder if it's possibly related, as you say, because alkaline, I wonder if it has to do with, if you don't clean it properly, if you by unintentionally mix Iroshizuku and Sailor inks, maybe that it's a bad mix.
Yeah, maybe if you mix it ink, because you're mixing the different pHs or something. But to just come out and say we don't use Shizuku, I'm like, well, you're probably Sailor or Platinum, and I'm pretty sure Pilot's going, I would never use Sailor in a pen, Tono limbs,
Yeah.
So, but I typically use either Tsukio or like maybe Serenity Blue or sometimes Pilot Blue Black.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because the Sailor and Platinum seem to be okay with each other's inks, but somehow not Pilot's.
Because they are cheaper and in a bigger bottle.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I use Konpeki. I actually ran out of Konpeki now, but I use Konpeki for my ink testing as well. And, I think what's great about it is that once I get to like a third of the bottle, I just dump some water in and keep using it.
If you need some more Konpeki, I think I have a dozen bottles here that I'm never going to use.
Because of the wish.
I'll take them.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that Jacob didn't talk about Maruzen Eternal Blue, because for me it's Jacob's ink. Every time you see some picture, there is one pen ink with Eternal Blue. So I'm really surprised.
But Eternal Blue is quite saturated, right? It's an ink I enjoy using, but it's not the easiest one
for the
to
testing
clean.
one.
I would definitely say that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely say that Doyo is easier to clean. And again, Doyo has this mysterious property that it's sometimes managed to remove existing stain, which is very nice if you buy like an old pen on Yahoo auctions that has been neglected for a few decades.
Okay.
All right, let's get into the Q&A. We've got a few Q&A. So I'm going to start with the first one. The first question is, at what point do you think fountain pen users and collectors should become comfortable with making adjustments to their own pens and accept that not every pen is going to perform well? Should we persist with returning pens that aren't 100% back to the retailer/manufacturer, or should we just accept that the more we collect, the inevitability of faulty nibs is something that we cannot avoid? What do we think?
They want to make their own adjustment, or like to give it to someone who green nibs are?
I guess the question is, should we return pens that are not 100% working out of the box every time? Or, should we try to learn at least some adjustment, like adjusting the tines or whatever?
I think that if the pen doesn't write, that you should definitely return it. And I think that also means that you should probably, if you're not comfortable adjusting and if you don't want to do that, then you should either buy it from a brick and mortar store
and try it.
If that is possible. Exactly, because that is the exact reason why you want to do that. You go to Maruzen and you try 5 different pens, and even for the same pen, 2 pens might write slightly differently. You find a pen that actually writes the way you want it, and then you buy that. And even if you have a problem, you can go back, and you might even have a pen clinic. I mean, that is the reason why you go there and pay retail price. That is value add. If you buy it online, I think you should buy it online from somewhere that has a refund policy. And I think, as far as I know, Amazon is always perfect, right? You can always return almost anything to Amazon. And sometimes people abuse that, but that's a good option if you have to buy online, if you don't have any brick and mortar store near you.
Yeah, I guess like when you pay the price of a new pen, I'm not talking about second hand or stuff like that, but if you pay a price of a new pen and it doesn't work well when you use it the first time, there is a problem in the pen, so you have to I will return it. And if it's a minor problem and you have a lot of pen and you know how to readjust, like if you are CY, then you can keep it and play with it. But I guess you are quite upset if you put a full price and the pen doesn't write correctly the first time you ink it.
Yeah.
You cannot say that because you have a lot, there will be like 20% of them who doesn't work, and that's the life. It's not working. For me, it's not working like that.
One thing I would like to add to that, though, is that as a consumer, you should also make sure you do your research ahead of time, because if you want something that just works, that requires minimum maintenance, then it's not just about the out-of-the-box experience. Like, some brands are going to give you more headache over time than others. I mean, imagine if you're buying a car. If you if you're not comfortable like poking at the engine or like making small adjustments, or if you don't have someone who can repair the car close to you, you're probably not going to go buy an Alfa Romeo. Right.
That's only one reason, though.
Right.
Yeah, I this is a timely question because, as you said, you should probably do some research. And if you're already listening to this, then I can tell you, if you want a pen that works, don't buy Italian pens.
Oh man, you're gonna just like get some hate mail on that.
Well, no, but there are legendary stories of Visconti's quality control for a reason. And I actually got in the new Brooks Visconti, the Medici Astral in Nova Blue. Very, very popular, very beautiful pen, by the way. It came just, I don't know what happened to it, but the nib, the tipping wasn't put on centered. And there was like this plastic like gunk thing inside the pen at the ink window, and it had like material scratches on the back. The finial is not lined up, etc., etc. And I don't even know why I keep buying Viscontis, because I don't even like them that much. But they just come with defects. That it's not a bug; it is a feature.
So why do you get them?
They look pretty. Yeah. Why else? Yeah. So I mean, you should not return a pen if you like how it looks and it's a limited edition. And you can get it fixed somewhere. Like if it's a nib problem, you can probably send it to somebody. But just factor that into your brain as part of the cost when you buy it, right? Whereas if you're buying like a Japanese pen, then I think it's very reasonable to presume that they're going to have high QC, because generally, if you've done your research, you'll know that Pilot in particular just has excellent QC.
Having said that, though, I think it's still, if you just want something to work, you shouldn't have to learn how to do minor adjustments, but I think it's still a good thing to learn, at least how to take the pen apart, how to clean it thoroughly, how to align the tines, how to maybe even adjust the ink flow by like widening the tines, right? It's not strictly necessary. You can get by without it by going to your like pen clinics every once in a while. But I think it's gonna be worthwhile just spending a little bit of time learning that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the first question, and that question was from Tom. Second question is, I have a question, and I am new to fountain pens. If I have a budget of up to $200 should I get a pen that is closer to $200, or should I start at the entry level, aka sub $100 for a first pen? What do you think?
I would say it depends on what you want to, like. If you write every day with a pen and you want to be like your main pen, maybe you want to go up to $200 to have a very good nib, like a gold nib, and it will be a pen that you will use every day and cherish, and like it be your pen. And in the case of you are starting a collection, or you want to have different type of nibs or size, or you play with inks, then maybe you want to have 1 or 2 or 3 cheaper pen, but that you can jump between each other and try different inks, papers and stuff. And then for your budget, you would prefer to invest in more basic pens, I guess.
I would say that like one of the great joys of this hobby is this journey when you like figure out what you like, and you're not going to figure it out with your first, second, third, fourth, or even fifth pen. I believe there's like so many variables, like it's like the size of the nib, the stiffness of the nib, the girth of the pen, the filling system, the materials. There's so many, and you don't even know what the variables are when you get into this. So I would say just get a preppy and a low-end twist board, whatever that looks nice to you, and maybe that will be the only pen you ever need, you ever use. Or if it's not, then based on your experience with that first low-end pen, you might figure out even what the next question is and what to look for next time. I think if you can spend $200 and you might get a pen that is objectively a good pen, but it might not be a pen that is what you actually want.
Yeah, and given this listener is from Singapore, my suggestion is go to a place like Phúc Hinh, go to a place Aesthetic Bay, Think. They have pens, and you should, hold them in your hand. Mm-hmm. If they let you, you should try them out. My suggestion will be different based on what the user wants to do. If the user wants to write with a nice pen, I would say you should just go for around the $200 mark. But if the user's looking at it as a hobby, then starting from lower end pens might not be a terrible choice, right? Because as you said, Jacob, there is a bit of like a journey there. None of us started with 4-digit pens. But, somehow I have Gossens in my pen chest. Somehow I have a pen chest, right? So part of discovering what you like is really fun. But that's only if you're looking at it as a potential hobby. If you're looking at it from a very utilitarian point of view, I'd say go for a, Pilot Custom 912, call it a day.
Yeah, I think it's the thing. This really depends on what the person wants to do with this pen. Is it the only pen he will buy in his life? Yeah. Or does he start a pen collection, a pen hobbies? And is he 5 years old or 45? It would change a lot.
All right. The next question. So, the next question is, my questions for the podcast are, have you ever come close to experiencing a pen burnout? And how do you balance the pen time, i.e. time spent on pen-related activities that do not involve writing, with your other hobbies? Now, I think, Alesa, you have a lot to say about this.
Oh, I do? Why do you say that?
It's a hunch.
Actually, I'm in the middle of a burnout right now.
Yeah.
I haven't posted a video in about a month, and I just got too into it and kind of burnt out a little bit. And you just take a little bit of time. As a matter of fact, today, I actually have probably about 20 pens that are all dried out because I inked them last year and I didn't use them. And while I was running around cleaning them up, it was fun again. And you just take a break. So when you get burnt out, and that's what I did. I took a break. And now pens are fun again. But for a while, there's like, if I have another inked up hand, or ink dripping down my arm one more time, I was going to like blow a gasket. So I had definitely had burnout.
Yeah.
And you just take a break from it. And then, and it's just so much fun when you do come back.
Yeah, I think that I can think of two main reasons why you would have like burnout. The first one is that you just like spending too much time on it. You're trying to, maybe if you're trying to produce content like videos or ink reviews or whatever it is, and you're just doing too much of it. And I think that Alesa answered the question of what to do in that case very well. I think the other possibility is this whole like FOMO, chasing limited editions, which is just an unwinnable game. And I am as guilty as anyone else talking about limited editions on Instagram or on this podcast. But I would say though, like, don't chase limited editions. Don't and try to avoid this whole FOMO, because there's a lot of fun things about this hobby. Even if you don't chase limited editions and need the latest and greatest pens. It could be, trying to improve your handwriting, trying to get into drawing, try to produce some content, finding like forums where you can meet like-minded people, whether that is like on Twitch streams or Discord or Pen Addict Slack. Don't chase limited editions. That's my answer.
But you actually have another really good thing you do, Jacob, is that you cull your collection. And that was my New Year's resolution this time. And I'm just plowing through my collection. I'm probably going to sell about 90% of it. Just because it's just, you got to store it, then you got to like, okay, occasionally use it to justify having it. And what you have, maybe 10 or 20 pens, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so I mean, you kind of rent the pens. You play with them for a while, and then you move on.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of might want to take that model a little bit more, because right now I'm just sitting at my desk, and I literally probably have 100 pens lying on my desk right now, and I'm not even going to talk about the ink bottles. It's just too much, So I think. And I know Khuê's not going to agree with that, because she's like the queen of ink. But I think for me, myself, to help with the burnout too, is probably cull my collection a little bit.
But I have to rebound on what Alessia and Jacob just say. I resell a lot of my pen collection and my ink collection rotate a lot. The ink I buy because it was like from, I don't know, tips or something, and I feel it. Like on the moment, I feel interesting. I swatch it once, and I know that 3 months later, if I have an ink pen with it, I will not use it. So I will just sell it. And I don't have at least I learned to not have not like particular attachment to my material stuff more than because the burnout can, especially when you are living in Tokyo. And having all these fairs, having all these like Sailor limited edition who go out every month, at one moment you cannot follow anymore. Like my pocket, my wallet cannot follow anymore. Just to get like enough of it. And I remember sometime I just like, some of you were going to some fair, and I was just like, okay, I'm sick, and I'm happy to be sick because I cannot follow it. It's just too many, and you get this FOMO, or you get this too much. You don't have the pleasure to enjoy what you already have, because there's just all the time new event, new fair, new pen, new inks. So it's good to sometimes just like take everything you have, put it on the table, and make a 2 box. This I keep, this I will sell, this I will give, this more than 2 boxes. But it's a good, I think once or twice a year, like the big spring cleaning to just because our house doesn't extend and you cannot bring all of this with you anywhere.
So what I'm hearing is that you want us to go over to have dinner very soon.
No. Sorry.
No, so I think it's very important to find what you want, and I think a lot of the burnout comes from like buying too much.
Like the fact that you see people getting more and more, and you feel the need to follow. There is
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Because if you aren't focused on what you like, then you're gonna buy everything. It's very easy.
I like everything. That's the problem.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like I like everything too, but I don't buy everything. At least not for myself. So
I don't either, but it adds up really quick. I mean, I know just from just knowing you buy a lot more pens than I do. I just think that my drowning level is a lot lower. I just drown a little bit easier in it or something. I get overwhelmed with it a little bit easier. But I don't really buy that much. But even if, say, you only buy 1 pen a month, okay, then that's still 12 pens in a year.
Yeah, that's a lot of pens.
That's a lot of pens, yeah. So I think I don't even know if it's FOMO so much as that you just enjoy pens, and all pens. You go, it's like Khuê, I'm not going to get this pen. And then she goes and looks at it, and it's really cool, and she really enjoys it, right? And now she has a Mekon pen. And it's just, but then I think probably, maybe like I said, the answer to that is later on, if you're still not using the pen, then you should.
But what for Sailor, for example, I used to have, 10, 12 Sailor Pro Gear Slim, but I don't own any of them anymore. And I start my Sailor collection with Sailor Slim, and I don't have. I think I keep one, the pink glittering one from Pen House is the only one I keep because I really like the multicolor sparkling inside. But the other one I resell all of them, and then I have room for Sailor Mini and Rialo that I didn't have 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it gets back to like setting boundaries, whether in new acquisitions or existing pens, right? So, Jacob, I know at least as of last year, 2 years ago, you had a, what, like 14 pen rule? I don't know if that's still the case.
I got 20 pens that I bought myself. Then people send me pens. My rule is only for pens I buy myself.
Okay, 20 pens.
20 pens.
Yeah. And then, like, you know, okay, you have your rule only glittering, shimmering, sparkling pens.
And I have a line of
rule.
more like lawyer pen. I have my classical like Maruzen wooden pilot.
Yeah.
I have two opposite collection. The vintage one and the more like classical one and the all sparkle one. Yeah. I'm not in the middle. I'm the two extreme, completely extreme collection.
Yeah. And then I have a very strict rule for myself, which is, no cartridge converters, no eyedroppers, for whatever I buy myself. And everything else I buy is for the fun of it, and then, it goes somewhere else, or it goes to Akane in her bag. So she's let's say her collection has grown a lot in the past 2 years.
You just pass it on to her.
Yeah. But she has rules as well, right? She likes like the galaxy theme pens. She likes like a lot of sheer colors. So yeah, I think setting boundaries is really important to avoid pen burnout. And also echoing what you said earlier, Alesa, I think there are some days where I do like 10 nib grinds a day, and then there are some times when I don't grind a single nib for like a month.
Yeah, I
and
can see that totally.
My justification for that is, well, I don't want to grind a nib unless, I really am in that zone. And if I don't feel like it, then I'm not going to produce my best work. So I just don't do it. So yeah, I think it's all about setting boundaries and knowing where to say no. I think that's very important.
But also, I mean, the main point I was trying to get across is that there's more to this hobby than buying and acquiring new stuff.
Yeah.
Again, learn to use the stuff you have, whether that is drawing or handwriting. Produce content where you talk about the stuff you have and how you use it. And in my case, for example, right now, today I was trying to do research about there's this steady pen that I found a while ago, and I was trying to find more about this brand and history. I had much fun reading up about that, and I'll probably do a post about that eventually.
All right. Last question. We've actually answered this question on the podcast before, but I think, as time changes, this is actually an evergreen question, right? We can come back to it all the time. But this is, what is your stationary everyday carry, and how do you carry it? Notebooks, planners, pens, pen case, in a bag or in your pockets? What can you not leave the house without? Maybe I can go first for this question. About 10 years ago, I only owned one pen, and I had it stuck in my front blazer pocket all the time. And if I wasn't wearing a blazer, I would stick it in my jeans pockets. That was how I carried pens. Nowadays, I have these kimono plush pen cases that I get off of Mercari. They're really nice, really beautiful, and they hold like 4 or 5 pens each. And then I have them in my bag. So I think as I've gotten more stuff or like different stuff, I've also learned to take care of my pens differently. And as for paper, I either bring, if my bag is large enough, I bring a A5 Tomoe River. If it's not large enough, then I have a A6 as well, or I bring a Bible size plotter.
Yeah, but you got to tell them about your really cool box thing.
Yeah.
The one that I made?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty cool.
The one that
no
you
one's
bring
got one
at
of those, I don't
every
think.
meeting. The one that you bring at a pen gathering.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted a carrying case, and I realized that nobody was creating something that I wanted. So I built a kind of pen box where on one side it's 7 pen slots, You just, stick them in. And then on the other side, it's just an elastic band where you could put in, it fits an A5 sized notebook. And if you have other like miscellaneous, you could probably stick it in there as well. So yeah, I built that, so you can't just go out and buy it.
It's pretty cool.
Thank you. What about the rest of you?
Well, so I'm not really going anywhere anymore because of Omicron right now. I haven't been to the office for like 2 weeks at least. So I'm mostly working from home. I have this like small 6-pen Toyota tray on my desk, and that's where my inked up pens live. It's usually around like 2-3 pens only, but sometimes can be more. And I take a lot of notes when I'm working, and recently I've been mostly using these A4 loose sheets because I like to have a whole A4 sheet for my to-do list and scribbles and boxes and arrows and stuff. But most of what I write is only relevant for that day. It's not something I need to keep for later. So I write 1 or 4 A4 sheets, and then at the end of the day I usually just throw it away. I found this really nice A4 size stajiki, what's it called in English, like pencil board undersheet, almost like a soft thing under. I bought on Amazon, and then I have going through various kinds of papers. So I have some Graphila loose sheets, I have some B7 bulky loose sheets, I have some Iroful loose sheets, and whatever I'm in the mood for, I'm using for that day. So that's my not so much of a carry because again I'm just at home at my desk, but that's what I'm using.
You can carry from your desk to your kitchen and from the kitchen to your living room.
That's true.
I always have at least 1 or 2 fountain pen with me when I go out in my bag, and I use usually either a small silk pen case or like the Bookmondo one, or I have the Superior Labor leather case who can hold between 2 to 3 fountain pen with me. And for paper, I will either have my mini 6 plotter with the Tomorrow River papers to make like ink swatch and trying inks in shops and taking notes, small notes. Or I will have A6 MD notebook for sketching and when I have some ideas and stuff I want to remind to work on it later. So this is the thing I always have in one of my bag.
Cool. And Alesa, what about you? How do you carry pen products?
It's just I have 2 currently inked pens in like a little case, which is a little light case, and it's just 2 mainly because if I run out of ink in one, I've got another pen with ink in it. And then I quit using the traveler's notebooks, the small passport size. So I just use one of the inserts and put that in my purse. So it's very lightweight, that, and just 2 pens.
And there we have it. I think that's all we have for this week, right?
Well, let me just interrupt real quick. The 50 podcast thing's a real milestone, and congratulations. That's a lot of work. And
Thank you.
Your listeners need to understand that you guys do put a lot of research and a lot of time into this, and it's, I like to listen to it. So.
Yeah, congratulations. It's a very long journey, and we really hope that you will continue for 50 more and so episodes, because it's a very nice adventure. And we are really, I talk for Alessia and I, but we are really happy to be part and come back as a regular guest. It's always really fun.
And make fun of you guys.
We're hoping to invite both of you to many more episodes.
I certainly hope that we'll see episode 100 in 2 years, but yeah, I think it's been an awesome ride. Jacob, I think you would agree with me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we started not really knowing whether this would. I think we started when the first
lockdown
was during the very first state of emergency in Japan, and we just had some time because we were working from home and there wasn't too much work to do. So that was just let's see what happens, and here we are.
2 years almost. All right, so yeah, that's been the episode. Thank you everybody so much for tuning in. As always, we can't do this without your support, so please tell your friends, tell your family members, post about us on Reddit, on Facebook, on Twitter, just let somebody who you think would enjoy the podcast know about us. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. My name's CY. You can find me on my website at tokyostationpens.com, on Twitter at TokyoStationMNH, and on Instagram and TikTok at TokyoStationPens.
My name is Jacob. I'm Foodafan on Instagram and on Twitter. I have a blog at foodafan.com.
My name is Khuê. You can find me on Instagram at MidaiCat.
I'm Alesa. I'm Inky Rocks on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks again.
Bye.